Just following this spot, I bring you guys another gameplay commentary. This is Black Desert Online, and this video, I'm just lazy right now. I don't want to go in and do any editing, so uh, I'm just an OBS, and I'll go between videos that I've saved, and I'll talk a little bit about what's been going on with me and just everything overall about my build. Right? I have a particular build. I have a particular reason for the build. There's nothing factual. It's just some of it is, but most of it is not. It's just a build that I've decided to go with, and that build is a health, high health, high damage, high accuracy build, and there are only a few classes that can run this build. The one class that can run it is a sorceress, right? An awakened sorceress, right? I've done multiple videos about, what I think are the tanky classes, and to me, there are two types of uh, there are two types of ways to think of a class as being tanky, right? So when you get CC'd, can you survive that CC due to high evasion, high DP, etc. Right? There's some classes that excel at that. Striker, Mystic, and the DR version would be Valk, right? And then you have those in between classes where you can get really high health, like Zerker. I think a Zerker you can get over 10k health depending on the build that they have, and they can have a sense or a level of tankiness, and that's where I'm stealing a bit of I'm taking a bit of inspiration from that, right? So as a Sorc, regardless of how tanky I try to be with DP, damage reduction, ultimate Hooms build, etc., right? In terms of like DP and DR, and I've tested it, you will still get one combo by a 269 player, right? 269 AP player and above. You will still get one combo. Of course, there's RNG associated with these types of things. And, there might be a few instances where you resist a down smash or what have you. But for the most part, you will still get one combo, regardless of how well you attempt to do it, especially if you're a DR build. Now, that might be a bit different for evasion builds, but I'm not an evasion Sorc. So let's fast forward this. I'm not an evasion Sorc. Let's get to the next one. So the first one I went. Let me skip. Yeah, like I said, I'm not editing. Did this go through? Yeah, I think I did. I did this already. Let me just get to. Okay, great. Because this was this is probably the best enhancing session I've ever had, and there's a whole story behind it, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, right? So, um, except for an evasion Sorc, I'm not playing an evasion Sorc. I personally think the only place an evasion Sorc can be successful is in being in siege and a ball, and then in some occasions 1v1s when they're fighting more squishier classes, right? But I'm a DR Sorc, and I'm going mainly for high damage because I've always maintained this belief that you can have. Let me just mute this. Actually, I think I've always maintained the belief that a Sorc has all of the necessary skills, well, defensive skills in its kit to mitigate damage, right? And I mentioned earlier that to me there are two types of ways of being tanky, right? I mentioned the evasion type players and the DP stackers, right? Mystic, Striker, Falc, and then the more health based players. And you can have a combination of that as well in Strikers and Mystics and Valks, right? And then you have the Zerkers, which I don't know if they have a health buff. I have to look at that. I don't know if it's similar to. Hold on a second. Did I? Yeah. Let me go back. I don't know if it's similar to um Wusa, where Wusa gets a passive that gives it additional health, and also its buffs its health by I think like 1,000, right? So I don't know if that's the case, but I'm using that as an inspiration to add more health because there's another version of tankiness where if you don't get CC'd and you mitigate damage via frontal guard, and frontal guard is enhanced by health, right? You are essentially a tanky player as long as you don't get caught. And as a Sorc, like that's one of the main things that you can do, and that is to not get caught, right? If you play the well, you play Sorc kit well, you can rotate into frontal, iframe, frontal, and still punish players, right? And that's where the health build comes in, right? Because not only does it allow you to bolster your frontal, it allows you to pressure play if you're SA trading, right? Let's say you go in for Grim, the skill that most players hate, right? You can, and you have a massive amount of damage because again, you're a glass cannon in terms of attack, but you're kind of cheating the system by going high health and being able to iframe into almost infinite frontals. You can mitigate those types of things, right? And so you have a class that has high damage, is its survivability is very high, right? Out of 10, I would go so far as to say it's 13 out of 10. So, you're able to essentially cover those areas by adding that additional health, right? And this health build is I have the rune rings, I have the Garmoth pet, I've increased my health. I think it's at like 40 now. I want to get it a little bit higher. I'm trying to get it higher. I have Garmoth in both. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's in my awakening. It gives me additional 2 crystal slots, but I have it in my offhand, so that gives me an additional 150 health. I have all health glyphs, well, cups, and I'm going all human damage. All right, Spirit gives you additional 100 health, and then the special attack gives you additional health. Right, so that's 200 health. So I'm stacking health here to the point where my health is 66,100. I think that's an amazing amount of health for any class, especially if you're a glass cannon class, right? So you're able to kind of mitigate a lot of things and still keep that high damage, right? I've always maintained this mindset that damage really impacts how players approach you, right? If a player wants to, pressure you and they feel that damage, then most likely they'll back away. And I've noticed that, right? If a player feels as if he or she is getting hit with a lot of damage, they will back away. And I've seen this often. A lot of players say, oh, Sorcs tend to run away from fights. Every player that I've fought, maybe an exception would be, the shield classes. I mean, I play warriors straight up, right? A lot of them turtle up, which I think it's fine. It's part of the kit. I play them straight up. Valks, I try to play them straight up, but they don't have too many openings, and it's very hard to bait their grab. I just have to fight them more often. I don't get to fight a lot of Valks, so that's one of the main reasons that I just don't have the experience, right? The good Valks, they all turtle up, and that's their play style. You can't really do anything about it. The the good warriors that I fight all the time, they all like ultimately they know the matchup, so they know they have to turtle up. There are only a few classes that can scramble with a Sorc, and warrior's not one of them, right? So it's mainly the shield classes, right? A guardian is a very difficult class to fight because no matter the amount of damage you throw out, they you just can't SA trade a warrior, a guardian, or a Valk. Not a Valk, or this one right here is when I went for. This one is right here when I went for since I couldn't go, I didn't have the pen stack for pen Tungrad necklace. I went for pen Black Star, which I got, right. I gave it away. So you can't SA trade Guardians, and you definitely can't SA trade uh, Drax, right? But yeah, so this is my overall build, and this was a very good session. And the reason I think this is a good session is because I grinded at Underground Guy finished an amazing spot. I've already done 3 million trash. That's 75 bill. I've I've gotten close to 80 Tungrad necks, around like 70 Tungrad belts, and it was just a really good outing for me. But anyway, and when the build is finished, all I have to do is just I have everything in pre-order. Once I get it, it'll be completed, and then I should be good. Anyway, I'm out.